This is a video I really want to do. It's called Fireside Chat with Jeff Bezos. It has Shah Rukh and ZOYA AKHTAR. It's Amazon Prime Video India that put this video out. I was very curious about it. YouTube recommended it. I'm like, of course I would watch that. It's 45 minutes long. I'm not even certain if we'll be able to have this on the channel for very long before Amazon Prime Video is like, how about no? And we're gonna block that. This may not stay up for very long. Who knows? If at all. If at all. It might just get blocked outright, in which case I'm just talking to
patrons. Hello, patrons.
To ACHARA. Hello, patrons. That's right, the patrons. Just the, yeah, okay. Yes, so, okay, anyway, let's check this out.
The founder, CEO, and president of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Shah Rukh and ZOYA, it's now over to you for the next 30 minutes or so.
Thank you very much, Mandira. Thank you, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Fireside Chat. A big round of applause for ZOYA. And a bigger round of applause for most of the people who are employed by Jeff. For Jeff Bezos. I asked him, what is the nicest thing about Jeff when I spoke to the team about a week back, and they said his laughter. He has the most infectious, most beautiful, most honest laughter in the world. Thank you, Jeff, for making us laugh, making us feel good, and for your laughter. Thank you for being amidst us. So how has it been, Jeff? You've been in Mumbai now for a day, in Delhi, you've been traveling. We saw you flying kites on Makar Sankranti.
The kite flying was fun, but the kids told me that the right way to do it is I needed to have glass on my string so I could cut all the other kites, but we didn't do that. But it was any day when you get to fly a kite, that's a good day. And so my trip to India has started off right with some kite flying.
And I saw some of your pictures at the Rajghat, the Gandhi Memorial, Gandhi Samadhi. How was that?
Very meaningful. There's a man who truly changed the entire world, taught the principles of nonviolence. He's renowned everywhere, and it was a great honor to be able to go there and lay a wreath.
And I want to know, do you think Gandhiji and his philosophy of non-violence, is it more relevant now?
I think it will be relevant forever. And it's one of those things everybody knows is true, and yet it's somehow very hard to achieve.
Okay, wonderful. And tell me, Jeff has been here a few times before. This is first time in Mumbai?
It's my first time in Mumbai. I've been to India. This is my 4th trip to India, but my first time in Mumbai. And I've always wanted to come to Mumbai because the guy who leads Amazon India, Amit, who's sitting right here in the front table, I've known Amit for 20 years. And over 20 years, I've heard little stories about his father. And every time I hear a story about Amit's father, I get more and more intrigued and want to meet him. And he's one of these guys who, Amit has done all these incredibly impressive things in his life. And somehow I get the impression that Amit's father is completely unimpressed by all of these things. And so the more I learn about Amit's father, the more curious I get. And this has been going on for 2 decades. And tomorrow night, I get to have dinner with Amit's father.
I hope Amit, Dad is impressed by Jeff. Special guest here, Lauren, welcome to India. Thank you for being here. Priya, wonderful chatting with you backstage. And tell me, have you seen any perceptible change in India apart from the traffic when you came last
Apart from the traffic.
Apart from traffic.
It's interesting. So I guess the first time I came to India was about 11 years ago. I don't know that I have seen perceptible changes of any great magnitude. What I would actually say is that I notice there's certain things that seem to me to be the same. And I love those things. One of the things I notice every time I come here is that there is so much energy here and dynamism and color. The word I would use for it is the whole place seems so full of life. And everywhere you go, every single thing you do, and the diversity of India. When I come here, I've never seen a more diverse place. Everywhere I travel in the world, nowhere more diverse than India. So the energy, self-improvement. Every time I come here, I find that the people that I talk to are focused on and interested in being better tomorrow than they are today. Everybody here seems to be focused on self-improvement. So when I get here, I get a boost of energy. I go back and I'm like, wow, you know, it's so alive here.
Yes, and you guys are going to work extra hours at Amazon when he gets back.
Of diversity and
I don't know if that's a cheap shot or not.
Did you think online retail would get this big?
Oh no. So, you know, when I started Amazon, it was 25 years ago. I started Amazon in 1994. When I went to seek investors, the first question I had to answer is, what is the internet? None of my investors had ever heard of the internet. And the idea that I had in mind was to build a bookstore. I realized that we could build a store which would have every book ever printed in any language, in print or out of print. And we could do that online. It would be impossible in a physical store. And that was the founding idea of Amazon. But did I expect what would happen today? No. You know, we started, I've been at Amazon when it was one person, me, when it was 10 people, when it was 100 people, when it was 1,000 people. And today, when it's, you know, more than 700,000 people and approaching 70,000 people just here in India. So, no, I did not predict that. And actually, I think if anybody had predicted that, they would have needed to be immediately institutionalized in a mental facility, because it's not a normal thing to have happen. My dream when I started Amazon was that one day we might be able to afford a forklift. So it's been a very fun journey for me. And by the way, I still tap dance into work. I'm having so much fun.
So how many forklifts you have now?
What's that?
How many forklifts you have
I
now?
have no idea. It's an uncountable number of forklifts. It's
I want to know. See, I understand this. This is wonderful what you're saying, and it's very inspiring to hear you talk and, you know, about a concept that the whole world and the investors didn't even know about, and to start 25 years ago from that. But when you were 6 years old,
yeah,
or 7 or 8,
yeah,
what did you actually want to be? I mean, of course, or did you know then?
Well, it's so funny. So when I was a kid, I went through so many stages of doing, I think when I was in first grade, so how old are you in first grade? You're like 6 or 7 in first grade. I wanted to be an archaeologist, and that was pre-Indiana Jones. So it's not that. And then I wanted to be many different things, but ultimately I really wanted to be a physicist. And I went to college to study physics, and I realized halfway through I was never going to be a great physicist. And so I started studying computer science. And computer science I really fell in love with, and it became a real passion of mine. And that's how I ended up doing Amazon.
Okay. You want to ask him?
I want to know if, I mean, of course, barring everything that's illegal, is there anything you don't sell on Amazon?
Anything we don't sell?
Yeah. Or anything you tried to sell and didn't work? Anything you decided not to
there are
go
things
to?
we tried to sell that didn't work. We tried to sell a phone called the Fire Phone, and we worked on it for 4 years, and no one bought it. I think my mother bought one, and I don't think she was that happy with it. But it is. But no, there are things that we deliberately don't sell. We don't sell guns. We don't sell tobacco. There are things we don't sell. But and that we make deliberate decisions about. But other than those things, we try to sell everything that anyone might want to buy, and we're trying to make it as convenient as possible for people. You know, in the early 21st century, we're all busy. Everybody in this room is busy, and if you can save people time, let them spend more time with their families and with their friends and doing the things that they really enjoy, then you're doing them a real service.
Okay. Yes, it's very convenient being online. You're also busy. When was the last time you shopped at a brick and mortar store?
In a physical store?
Yeah, in a physical store. And what do you think is the future of physical stores? But when was the last time you went to a physical store?
The last time I shopped at a physical store, well, I go to the grocery store. Even though we sell groceries, sometimes I go to the grocery store because I kind of enjoy it. I'm not a good cook, but I like to cook a little bit. So I'll go to the store. I'm a very inefficient shopper because when I get to the grocery store, I don't know where anything is. So I walk the aisles and I don't have a plan. but I'll put together some kind of meal and make a dinner. So yeah, probably the last time I went to a physical store was for groceries.
When was the last
Actually,
time
I
you
went to a physical store today. I went to a I Have Space store. I went to a tiny little, I forget the word, help me, what is it called?
Kirana.
Kirana. And it was an incredible experience. It's this tiny little store, and they also are a pickup point for Amazon packages. We have a whole program. We have thousands of these points of presence now, where they do their regular business, but then they also provide a place where people can come pick up their packages. And I talked to this young man who helps his parents run the store, and about how it has really improved their lives to have that extra source of income. It was a very moving experience. So that's the absolute last time I was at a physical store, today.
Okay.
You should ask him this. When were you in a store?
That's a good
When were you
question.
grocery shopping? I want to know.
Shah Rukh Khan's like attacking Jeff Bezos. How about you? Huh?
Yes, I do all my book shopping at Amazon.
Thank you.
All
I
my
knew I
books.
liked you right away.
My grocery is from Big Basket. I have a confession to make. Don't make this a thing. But my underwear still, I'm not confident to shop online. It's a boy thing, you know, you don't tell your size and stuff.
Good to know.
Okay, I want to know, do you shop on Amazon?
Yeah.
And if you have something, the service you don't like,
Yeah.
so do you just pick up the phone, call your team of 700,000 people, and tell them, I don't like this, change this, or...
You know what I do? So I don't do this, it doesn't happen that often, but if I get a delivery that I don't like, maybe I don't like the way it's packaged or something, we have regular meetings of the senior executive team, and I bring the box to the meeting. And when I walk in, I haven't done this in a while, it's been a while, but when I bring in a box, everybody in the room is like, oh no, he's bringing in a box, because it's always some problem. But really the way I get feedback is primarily from my email address is very well known, and I keep it well known. And I get hundreds and hundreds of emails every day from customers, and they always have something interesting to say when something goes wrong.
I'm going to write an email.
Because we have hundreds of millions of customers around the world, and no matter how good we are, we can still be better. You can always be better. Customers have a divine discontent, and they teach you if you listen to customers. So we watch for that, and we see patterns, and we can find places where it's not working, something's going wrong, and that's really how I get the feedback, is from customer input. And often, you know, in all caps, angry, you ruined my child's birthday because the gift didn't show up on time. And we take that, and what you really want to do is you take that, it's an anecdote, it's a single example, but you need to find the root cause. What went wrong deep inside the system? How did this happen? Because then you can fix it for everyone, so that particular problem will never happen again. You don't just fix the symptom, you have to fix the root cause. And that's been the secret to our operational success for 20 years.
Most of the people here, Jeff, are from, lots of them I see, are from the film industry. And it was very heartening when Amazon started creating original content.
Yeah.
And filmmakers, Zoya, Kabir Khan there, this is a pompous set of people.
No.
I'm telling you, trust me. You've just started Amazon Prime, 3 years, you'll find out. Okay. So we don't think of our films as just products, you know,
Right.
So there's a very clear demarcation, you know, some of them think, we do a film for the creative fun of it,
Yeah.
for the artistry of it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, this one is for business. We don't look down upon it, but we clearly demarcate it.
Yeah.
So we know it. This girl, this boy, artist, we won't make the money. This one is for money. Now you are into original content, the company's into original content in a big way. What's your stance on it? Are you still that person who says, no, I'm going to do this for the creativity, the artistry, forget the business? No, I'm doing this only for the business. Or is it a mix of both and you say, just put on lots of stuff, let someone come on the store and find whatever they want? I'm easy with that.
I think this is a great question. It's actually something we debate, and I think if you look at the very best things in the world, they do both. And I think this is a golden age of television. So when you look at, you know, TV series today, the really good TV series are, in terms of quality, they're as good as the very best movies have ever been. And you're getting the best storytellers
Shah Rukh
to
Khan.
come to television. You're getting the best actors to now come do television. One of the great storytellers is right here. Thank you for the help.
Thank you.
And this is
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause she
this is
did,
a big deal.
No, I know what she did.
When you can get the very
Yeah,
best people.
on
'Cause this is one of those businesses where the viewer is always looking for something a little fresh, and so you can never find a formula, because as soon as you find a formula, it's not fresh anymore. They're always looking for something a little new. So it really takes human ingenuity. It takes people. The storytellers have to be in touch with the zeitgeist. And what I want Amazon Studios to be all over the world, I want us to be known as the most talent-friendly studio in the world. And the reason you need to do that, thank you, is because at the end of the day, it is the talent that makes those stories. Storytelling is the oldest thing that humans do. We've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, long before there was written language, before there was any medium to convey it. People sat around and they told each other stories. And it's how we teach each other things. And we learn from stories. We learn from fiction. We learn from fiction because we get to live an alternate life. In that moment, you watch this and you're learning it. So it can be fun, it can be action, it can be funny, it can be comedy, but the very best things take those elements and teach a little something. There's something in there that you walk away with and you're inspired by it. And it doesn't matter if it's drama, comedy, anything, you're gonna walk away with something. And there needs to be lightness. You know, you can't watch something that's just all heavy and you're like, oh my God, you know, I want to kill myself now. There also has to be that gesture. There has to be somebody who brings you out and lets you breathe a little bit. So this is so hard to do. That's why there is so many bad movies and so many bad TV shows, because it is one of the hardest things that humans do, is tell riveting, engaging, inspiring stories. But when you get it right, it's a lever that can change the world.
Are you a competitive producer?
Sorry, I'm making him speak too much.
Oh, you're giving me water.
Yes.
Okay, see, and he claims that the people in this industry are pompous. I don't believe him. I was talking to him backstage, and he's one of the most humble people I've ever met.
It's only because my last few films haven't done well.
Oh, he's very honest.
I'm sorry, what were you asking?
Are you a competitive producer?
Or my what?
A competitive producer, and I don't mean business-wise, I mean creatively. Like, would you see a film or a show on another platform, like what you described, which is brilliant, and be like, why don't I have this?
Well, I have regrets. I mean, we've turned down things that later were so good, I wish we hadn't turned them down. But we've also picked up things that other people turned down, and we've made them great. And so the truth is, the storytelling is infinite. If I tell a good story, it doesn't make your story bad. There is not, these are not substitute products. You know, so it is, I don't feel like you get the best results with storytelling by trying to make sure that other people's stories are worse than your stories. This is one of those things where there can be a lot of good stories in the world. You're really competing not against others, you're competing against just the complexity of how hard it is. That's why you guys have all seen this. If you're in the entertainment business, there are movies and TV shows where you know the people involved, and every one of those people is talented, and still the final product is bad. It happens. And because there's a little bit of mystery to it. We don't know how to do it perfectly. And that's what makes it so fun. Because there is an artistic element to it. It is not science.
What are you watching right now?
I just binge watched season 4 of The Expanse, which is a show that Amazon, it's a science fiction show set in space. It's a show
Somehow
that
he keeps
Amazon
looping it
picked
around
up
back
from
to
the
Amazon
Sci-Fi
again.
Channel.
I'm surprised he didn't say
And
Whole
it's
Foods is where he shops at.
I know.
They were canceling it. It didn't work on broadcast.
I mean, he's
but
honest.
It's working really well on streaming. And so I'm really glad we picked up the show. And by the way, we did make it better. Season 4 is the best season of The Expanse. It's incredible. But I just watched the whole thing in a weekend. It's good.
You started Prime Video in India 3 years ago.
Yes.
And since I'm a tiny part of it, and so is the company I work with.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to know how it's panned out for you. How's it working for you in India?
It's working great. In fact, if we look at just in India, our number of hours watched in the last 2 years has grown by 6 times. We're doing, Amazon Video, Prime Video is doing well all over the world. It's doing well in Japan, it's doing well in Germany, it's doing well in the US, it's doing well in South America. Wow. It's doing well everywhere, but it's actually not doing, there's nowhere it's doing better than in India. And
I believe that.
Yeah.
it's really incredible what is happening. And it drives, because it's the Prime membership program, from a business point of view, we also like the business results because it drives people to join Prime, and then once they've joined Prime, they enjoy the fast, free shipping, so they also buy a lot of products from us. So it's a vehicle to make fantastic content, and from a business point of view, it works for us as well. So we love it. We're doubling down. We actually just made a decision to double down on our Prime Video investments here in India.
Nice.
Cool.
You know, before I met Jeff, my understanding was that he'd be a very busy person. He is a very busy person. You're flying around, handling so many things, so many people all around the world, looking at investors, looking at customers. But for a person who's so busy, he's the most easygoing and happy person that I've met in my life. Thank you for being so cool. I wanted to ask you, because I suddenly realized while chatting with you there, what do you think? Let me ask Zoya first. Is there something you think is a sheer waste of time? Like for me, unlike Amit, sleeping is a waste of time. I feel it's a waste of life. You can't sleep. Sleeping, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't sleep because I think it's a waste of time. So what according to you is a waste of time? Then I want to ask Jeff, what is the biggest waste of time he thinks?
I think sycophancy, chamchagili as we call it, sycophancy. I think, sorry, pardon my French, kissing butt is a big waste of time. I think you could spend that time really honing your craft, improving your skills.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, so you think butt licking is a waste of time?
Butt licking.
Apple polishing.
Apple polishing. The better way to put on stage.
It's hard to disagree
Butt
with
kissing.
that.
He said butt
There are a lot of
licking.
things that are a waste of time. You know, when you think about
Butt
your life,
licking.
I think I often tell people that I work with, if you can get, because people have very high standards for how they want their work life to be, and I said, look, if you can get your work life to be where you enjoy half of it, that is amazing, because very few people ever achieve that. Because the truth is, everything comes with overhead. That's reality. Everything comes with pieces that you don't like. You could be a Supreme Court justice, and there's still going to be pieces of your job you don't like. You can be a university professor, and it's still going to be, you have to go to committee meetings, and you have to do things. You know, every job comes with pieces you don't like, and we need to say, that's just how, that's part of it. And not resent those pieces, or try not to, but also try to minimize them. I tell senior executives, you should have the least stress. You know, there's this weird, I think, false idea that CEOs, I'm a CEO, there's this false idea that CEOs are under the most stress. Well, I look at that, I'm like, why? You're in charge. Why don't you delegate the stress? It's your choice. And so you have to figure out how to set up your life in such a way that you can minimize the things. And I find people don't dislike hard work. What people dislike is being out of control. Like they
That's
can't
fair.
control their life. They can't control their environment. This happens to me when I get overscheduled. I hate being overscheduled. I want some time to be able to think and free myself. We all have the same amount of time in the world. Nobody has more time than anybody else. And when you become a very successful person, one of the things, you start to get overscheduled. You have this event, you had to agree to do this, and maybe last night you were like, why did I agree to do this? I have to go on stage tomorrow. I wish I were really with my family. And, you know, or I hope maybe not this case, let's say that you like this one, but in general, that kind of thing happens. And so you have to guard your time and try to stay a little bit flexible. So that's, for me, it's not a waste of time, but I like to have some freedom of movement rather than having every minute of
I don't remember what the question was
day
anymore.
scheduled.
What do you think is a waste
Yeah,
of
we
time?
make sure this fireside chat is 7 minutes more. Don't worry. We'll pack it up. Quickly, ask your questions quickly.
I'm sure you've been asked this 500 times, but what is your one hot tip for somebody on the onset of their career?
On the onset of their
When
career?
they're just starting out.
Well, so a young person starting their career, I think there are probably a lot of things. Some of them are very well known and people have heard them many times, they're still true. One of those is you should always focus on, a young person should find something that they're passionate about to do. And that's not going to surprise anyone. It's a clear thing to do. It's very hard. If you don't love your work, you're never going to be great at it. I think the other thing I would suggest to any young person, even before they start their career, is to really think about their choices. Because I find young people, and when I was young, I made this mistake too. You can get very fixed on your gifts. So everybody has gifts. You know, you have gifts and you have things that you didn't get gifted. Maybe you're extremely beautiful. Maybe you're extremely good at mathematics. There are a lot of things that you can be given. But those things can confuse you because they're not the things that construct your life. It's your choices that construct your life, not your gifts. You can celebrate your gifts. Be proud of them. Be happy of them. Actually, don't be proud of them. Be celebratory of them, but you can't be proud because they're gifts. They were given to you. You didn't earn them. You can only be proud of the things you earn. And so, as I got older, I started to realize I wasn't proud of my gifts. I was always good at school. School was always easy for me, and I was always proud that I was a great student. I got A's in all my classes. I was good at math, all of that. And I thought that's who I was, but it's not true. Those are the things that are gifts. What was hard for me is deciding to work hard, deciding to use my gifts in certain ways, to challenge myself, to do things that I didn't think I could do, to put myself in uncomfortable situations. We all I would say to a young person, you can choose a life of ease and comfort, or you can choose a life of service and adventure. Which one of those, when you're 90 years old, are you going to be more proud of?
Service and adventure for all the young entrepreneurs. There's an enterprise, a concept very close to your heart. Zoya and me a week back started reading upon it, watched some videos, and I don't know if very many people are aware of it. We'd like you to talk about the Blue Origin.
Oh, yeah.
What it is, how did it start, and what is your vision for it?
Well, Blue Origin is my space company, and I have been interested in space since I was a 5-year-old boy. I watched Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin step onto the surface of the moon, and
I'm coming for you,
I
Elon
believe
Musk.
It's important that humanity expand out into the solar system. I think it's important for this planet. We have a very small planet, and humanity has now gotten very big. Anybody who doesn't believe in climate change, 20 years ago, maybe you could excuse people for wondering if it's real. Today, there's so much evidence. The people who don't believe in the problem of climate change are really fooling themselves. It's an important problem, and one of the ways, there are many things we have to do about that, about climate change. But long term, one of the things that we need to do if we want to continue to have a dynamic civilization, a dynamic species, is we need to go use the near infinite resources of space. And we can do that, but we need a new generation of entrepreneurs who can access space, and the infrastructure doesn't exist. So the analogy that I would offer to you is that in the internet, what I've watched over the last 20 years and been a part of, that in the internet, Mark Zuckerberg in his dorm room could create this $500 billion market cap company called Facebook. In space today, it's impossible for a college kid in their dorm room to create a great space company because the price of admission is too high. It starts in the hundreds of millions of dollars and goes up from there. And so the job of Blue Origin, our job, we want to build reusable space vehicles that lower the cost of access to space to such a sufficient degree that the next generation of kids can start space companies in their dorm room. And we can have a dynamic thing. And then once that happens, we'll start moving all heavy industry and polluting industry, all of that will be moved to space. And we can zone Earth residential and light industry.
So just pollute space.
And don't forget, this is the good planet.
I think it's
We've been to all of them with robotic probes. This is the only good one. So we do have to take care of it.
No, he's saying,
Speaking
I don't.
of plant, you've
We'll
just
talk about it later.
signed the climate pledge.
Yes.
And the environment is of utmost concern and importance right now.
Yes.
It's pretty positive, big positive step. Can
Yes.
you tell us a bit more about it?
Well, the climate pledge is a very simple pledge. It's hard to achieve, but simple to understand. It is to meet the goals of the Paris Accord 10 years early. So the Paris Accord goals are to be met by the year 2050. So when you sign the climate pledge, you're agreeing to meet those goals by the year 2040. And it is it's hard, but it's achievable, and it takes collective action. And one of the things that a company like Amazon can do, because we are a large company, if Amazon had 500 employees and we signed the climate pledge, that would be good, but it wouldn't move the needle. With a company the scale of Amazon, we can use our scale and our scope and our global footprint to actually move the needle, because it's not, for us to meet the climate pledge, we can't do it by ourselves. We have to get cooperation and collaboration from all of our supply chain partners, our delivery partners, everyone. They need to help that. We need companies to build electric delivery vehicles for us. We just ordered 100,000 electric delivery vehicles. We're building electric rickshaws here in India. So it needs to be collective action, but large companies can lead the way on that collective action.
I want to know, Jeff, where I started from actually. Is there a job, if it wasn't Amazon, if it wasn't business related, is there something else? You started all over again at this age and stage, and you took on a different profession. Would there be one that is close to your heart?
I would be very curious today, if I were a young college student today, I would be very interested in biotechnology. I think biotechnology is just a fascinating arena that probably in the next 10 or 20 years is going to be a golden age of biotech. One of the golden ages that's happening right now before our eyes is also artificial intelligence and machine learning. So that's another arena that I would be very interested in. My backup career is I'm a very good bartender. So if all else fails, you'll see me at the local bar and I'll be making drinks slowly, but they'll be good.
They'll be good, yeah.
Was that your plan B?
That was never plan B. The real plan B, if Amazon hadn't worked out, I would be an extremely happy software programmer.
Do you usually have a plan B? Do you have?
I don't have plan Bs. I actually don't like plan Bs. I find plan Bs are
Distracting.
they defocus you from plan A. Plan B should always be make plan A work.
You have plan Bs?
No, I'm taking this back from Jeff now. Plan B is to make plan A work. That's it. No more plan Bs. Not only because of India, because I'm like that. I was chatting with you backstage. Zoya, are you superstitious about anything?
Random things.
You are?
boots.
I am. I pretend I'm not superstitious. I pretend to be like very scientific, but I actually am superstitious a little bit. I have a pair of lucky boots, and I wear them every time. Blue Origin. They're Texas cowboy boots, and I wear them. They're giant. They're like they come up to here, and they have red stars on them. They're very flashy, and I wear them every time we launch our space vehicle. And we only had one failure at the very beginning of the program, and that's the only time I did not wear the lucky boots. So I present to you the evidence.
Richest guy in the world. Richest guy in the world. Superstitious.
That's quite a sight. Every time you're launching a spaceship, you're in your boots.
I put my boots on.
Yeah, in video.
Yeah,
That's
no.
yeah, that's wonderful.
I put on the lucky boots.
Lucky boots. So you have a superstition?
Yeah, but it's super random.
It's okay. His
I don't know,
is
I
random
haven't
enough.
since I was a kid, and I don't know, I think my mom's done this to me. So if I bump my head with anyone else's head, I have to do it again.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just have to re-bump my head with that person, and because, or you'll grow horns. It's random, but it is what it is.
That's,
Yeah,
I think
so
that's the
it's
thing
logical.
when you're in
Well,
the
look,
States as
it
well,
seems
right?
to have worked
I've
out for
never-
you.
Yeah, it's going good. It's been fine. No complaints.
That's
Now,
nice.
I'm going to ask you, okay, I'm going to ask both of you. Who or how many are the most influential women in your life? And yours?
Influential
My
people
mother.
in
of
your
course.
life.
Someone's gonna say my mother. Watch.
I have 4, and they're watching the show, so they should not. One of them. I mean, one of them is not watching. Hopefully, she's watching somewhere. Mom,
See?
sister,
Called it.
wife, and daughter. The 4 most influential women in my life.
The most influential people in my life were my grandparents. And my mother had me when she was 17 years old. She raised me with my grandparents' help. And she was still in high school when she had me. That was not cool in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1964. But she did an incredible job. But I was lucky because I had not just her, but she married my father when I was about 4 years old. He has been a huge influence in my life. But my grandmother and grandfather were like second set of parents for me. And you learn different things from them because they're at a different stage of life and they know different things, they're calm about certain things. It was a huge gift to me. My grandfather had a ranch in Texas, and I spent all my summers there from like age 4 to 16, and he was the most self-reliant person. He did all of his own veterinary work, all the things, I mean, and to observe him solve problems and figure out how to do things with no tools and no resources and, very small amounts of money. It was a huge education from an early age. So we were very lucky. One of the things that I know people who they don't have great family situations, and sometimes they break that cycle and they're the ones who pull out of it. Those people are the ones I reserve my highest admiration for.
My next question
You
is...
didn't answer the question.
I don't
What?
even know if you are in that stage
What woman?
now.
He told about his
And you told me
grandfather.
as a CEO you don't take too much stress.
Well, maybe he turned into a woman.
And I'll ask you this too. Are there any kind of people, I don't know if you hire and fire people anymore, but are there any kind of people that you would never hire to work with you?
Interesting question.
I don't like mean people.
Mean people.
I mean, I don't mind cutthroat people. I don't mind people
Lost
that
the
are
battery.
ambitious, that are shrewd, that are smart. I don't like people that are mean. I don't like that energy around me. I don't like people belittling other people. I would fire.
Okay. You're okay with guys with boots?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
I only hire people who bump heads twice.
Okay.
That's it.
I got a job.
Season
let me quickly
2.
do this. My problem is I've paid enough to Amazon. It's time you started paying me back. So. You want to ask him something?
Yes. I want to ask both of you this because you both have, thankfully, so much. If there's one thing you could have more of, what would that be?
Love, laughter, joy.
More women to appreciate.
More of. I mean, the obvious answer is time.
Oh.
It is time to do. I like time. I'm not efficient with my time. because efficiency, there's an embedded assumption when you're being efficient. And the embedded assumption is that you know where you're going. And I like to wander, because it's wandering that allows you to invent and to explore and to follow your curiosity. But wandering is very time consuming.
Yeah.
And so if I could have one more thing, it would just be more time.
Me, I learned this from Mel Brooks, and I want more of peace, peace of more riches, peace of more fame, piece of my name in history. That's what I want. Okay, I think we've overtaken your time. You've talked about time. Last question. I don't know how many people know this. In India, when sometimes you're putting in money to make content, you say cast your son and daughter in the film. It happens sometimes. For Amazon, very few people know Jeff Bezos has acted in Star Trek.
Oh, that's true.
So, next time you're making
it's my
something...
best role.
It's the best role, yeah. So how did that happen? And is it
I
going
begged.
to happen to people here when they have to make content for you, that Jeff comes along if you okay the script?
I got that role by literally begging. So and persistently, like for years, I would go and they were making a new Star Trek film, and I would say, I would like to be in the film, and they would say no. And then I would say, I would like to be in that film, and they would say no. So I just kept after it. And by the way, I also made it difficult for them because I had requirements. I said, you can put makeup on me, make me an alien, no one will know it's me. However, I need it to be a speaking role, and it needs to be a pivotal scene so that my line cannot be cut on the cutting room floor. And so I had those conditions, and they would say no. And so eventually, with enough begging, they finally said yes. And I spent, 2 men put makeup on me for 4 hours, and I had one line. And my one line is, speak normally. And it was terrifying because the terrific young actress who I said that line to had the most complicated scene to perform. She was speaking in a foreign alien language, which was really hard to do. She did it beautifully. And then in the middle of her, it's like a 30-second monologue that she has to do. In the middle of that, I pin a universal translator onto her and say, speak normally, and then she switches seamlessly to English at that moment. And I knew, we did the scene 20 times, and I knew she was going to finally get it right, and I was going to screw up to speak normally, but it didn't happen. So it all worked out, and anyway, it was a fun thing to do, and I enjoyed it.
Zoya, would you cast him in a film?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would.
And give him a speaking line?
I would.
Yeah, it has to be pivotal.
Pivotal.
I don't want to end up on the cutting room floor.
Okay, would you audition for it?
What?
Would you audition for this role?
Yeah, of course. Of course,
I'm coming there. Right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait,
Jeff
now?
is now.
You want me to audition now?
Time, Jeff, time. We don't have time. We have to audition now.
Okay, now I'm intimidated.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all, okay. So the line is a film her brother directed, I acted in.
Okay.
And because you're so busy, and we're extremely thankful, all of us, including me and Zoya, everyone backstage, for giving us your valuable time. It is impossible to get a gentleman like this, who's so inspiring, so wonderful, telling us such nice anecdotes from his life, and talking about business, and to young entrepreneurs and all the youngsters who are listening to this. Because his time is so precious, it's difficult to catch him. The line is, in Hindi,
oh, no.
Say after me.
In Hindi?
Yeah, this is the alien language you have to speak in.
All right.
And we'll put the universal thingy on you. So, so it is Jeff Ko. Pakarna. Mushkil nahi. I have the same accent as him, huh? Mushkil nahi. Namumkin hai. Okay, make it universal. universal, impossible hai.
Impossible, hey.
Absolutely, guys. Jeff Bezos.
All right, you were very kind.
No, you are kind. Wonderful. It means it's not only difficult to catch Jeff, get his time, it's impossible.
Oh, thank you guys.
But he's been very kind. He's not impossible.
Thank you.
He's been very sweet. Thank you all of us here. And thank you from all of us for being so kind, so wonderful. A big round of applause for Jeff, for Zoya. Thank you so much.
Oh, and they have like all the names of the upcoming shows flashing on the back there. Very cool.
That was interesting.
That was interesting.
The thing about it is, I'm such an analytical, skeptical person. I'm trying to see between the lines, right? I'm trying to read between the lines and go, okay, what is genuine? What is artifice? What is actually something from the heart?
Yeah.
And what is just another advertisement? Because he spoke about all the great things Amazon was doing like umpteen thousand times. I'm like, I get it, dude. That's the biggest company in the world. There's no questioning what's going on over there. There seem to be moments of genuine advice, genuinely coming from like his upbringing where he's conveying like, these are the things that I am concerned about or I'm aspiring to do whatever for the world. As far as it goes with the environment, I don't know what exactly his plan was, but I don't think he meant to pollute space. But even if he did, there's a lot of freaking space.
I don't know, that's kind of what I got from it, which is like, we'll preserve the earth, but we'll do all the heavy industry and polluting stuff like in outer space.
Well, that makes sense if you're sending it towards something like the sun or so. I mean, in my brain.
Maybe. I don't know. I just wonder about the repercussions of that maybe. Now you're polluting space.
I don't think there's any repercussions to sending our junk to the sun. You can have, what is it, 360,000 Earths that fit inside the sun or some astronomical number. And so whatever little junk we have that we send to the sun is not gonna affect the sun in the very least. That's not what was being proposed by Jeff Bezos or anything like that. That thought aside, I'm sure that like there's some kind of thing that he's got figured out that's, because he has to answer to people on Earth still. I'm sure there are certain standards that he's gonna have to pass in order to conduct all this business off-site, meaning out in outer space, in order to not just take away pollution from Earth, but also not pollute something else out in space that needs to stay preserved. In the first 20 minutes, I kept smiling because I couldn't tell what Shah Rukh Khan was thinking or feeling. Like, I wasn't sure if he was joshing him, if Shah Rukh Khan even wanted to be there. At the same time, Shah Rukh Khan will be very candid and be like, well, my last 3 films didn't do so great. He's very candid with himself and making fun of himself, but that's just Shah Rukh Khan's personality. I wish Zoya Akhtar spoke more, because she didn't speak nearly as much as Shah Rukh Khan or Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, but I think Shah Rukh Khan, he's very good at that sort of thing. He's very good at being an MC and kind of like interviewing people, putting people at ease because he has that nice, easygoing, fun personality. He's not afraid to take shots at himself, which then in turn makes the guest feel more comfortable because they're like, oh, this guy's not so pompous and arrogant, you know, he's just a really fun, nice guy. And obviously, like, he's on camera all the time and he feels really comfortable on camera, so I can see why he would kind of more like take the lead in that situation and be like, okay, I'm gonna like lead this interview. Whereas Zoya Akhtar is a phenomenal director, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's gonna be as good in front of the camera and being like a host or an MC as Shah Rukh Khan.
Right, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to being a host. Nevertheless, I mean, even with consideration to all that, I still wish she had more to say in the conversation. Jeff Bezos has a very peculiar way of talking that I never heard before. It sort of reminds me of Bill Gates, but deeper. Because Bill Gates has sort of a nasally voice, but the way in which he conducts the rhythm, his inflection and all that stuff, the cadence is very close to Bill Gates in my opinion, but just deeper resonance, which is very fascinating. I don't think there's any correlation whatsoever, it's just a coincidence. What was also curious for me was the fact that he came from an interesting upbringing, which is his mom had him at 17 years old. And that is usually not a recipe for success for your child. Sometimes it is, sometimes pressure makes diamonds in that regard. Like Kevin Hart, his situation wasn't like the most ideal circumstance for a kid. He didn't have his dad growing up, from what I could tell. It was better that he didn't have his dad there because of, I've been watching Kevin Hart's special on Netflix recently. Later on, he reconnected with his father, but he lost his mom at a young age. That was interesting to find out. You never know where people come from. Like, I found out 10 years ago or something, Bruce Lee actually came from a wealthy family. And that sort of reshaped my perspective on him a little bit, where I'm like, ugh. Like, he's still unbelievably phenomenal and still had to combat a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it still changes your feeling a little bit when you realize, I hate to use this word, but like the little bit of nepotism that's involved, the little bit of head start that you're given.
It's like what Jeff Bezos said about gifts, and I thought that was really insightful, right? In that situation, Bruce Lee had a gift. His gift being he came from an affluent family.
Right.
You can't really hate on people.
I'm not holding that against
for
him.
having gifts. No, I know you're not, but I'm just saying, like, in general, because I feel like sometimes there can be a lot of negativity towards people where, you know, people say stuff like, oh, they're just lucky because they came from a good family, or they're just lucky because they're incredibly beautiful. But it's like, okay, fine. You have this set of circumstances, you won the genetic lottery, you did whatever, but ultimately it's, what do you do with those gifts? Did you embrace those gifts, take them and roll with it?
Or did you squander it?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That is important. I still can't help but have my perspective shaped a little bit differently when I learn something like that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, Whiplash is my favorite film. And I was really envious of the director at the time that the movie came out, because I'm like, this is such a phenomenal, I hope I can make a film this good someday. And come to find out, the way he was able to get that film made was because he already came from money. And so he was able to get family to finance this short film project that went to a film festival that got picked up and got people curious about the full-length film version of that.
But of course, like, he's lucky that he had that, but had he not had the immense talent to back it up, would he even be where he is now?
I get it. Yeah, I know. I'm not taking anything away from that. I don't have the best way to articulate it right now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it reshapes your perspective a little bit about that person and where you stand and whatnot. I don't like the fact that Amazon is doing a lot of tax dodging.
Yes.
I cannot get on board with that.
Yeah.
It's just the level of tax dodging in there is just not, it's like, it's hurting the country that Amazon was born in. You know?
Yeah, and I think like when you said you wanted to watch this video, I think initially I was a little bit reluctant just because of that, and like in the beginning that was all I could think about when I was looking at Jeff Bezos was like, you don't pay any taxes.
Yeah. Now that being said, first off, it's inspiring that he was able to come from rags to riches. As far as he was indicating here, that's what it sounded like. Mm-hmm. He had help from the grandparents. I mean, they had a ranch, so it obviously wasn't super rags. His mom was quite young.
Yeah.
And so that's not the most ideal of circumstances. It didn't even bother to mention his father, it sounded like.
Oh, he said that his mom married his father when he was 4, and he was a great man.
I think he was referring to a stepdad.
He didn't specify, he just said father.
It wasn't clear. Anyway, that's beside the point. The other side of it is, like, with the tax evasion and stuff, it's like, he's doing it all legally. Those are all laws that we made. It's sort of a, we problem, not just Jeff Bezos' problem, that's a we problem.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole other discussion I'm not gonna get into. I liked a lot of what was being said.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos is obviously an interesting person. I feel bad saying this just on the sheer off chance that he might see this, but he's just not the most charismatic individual to watch. I feel bad saying that, but like, I'm just being real. It's like, I'm watching him and I felt myself spacing sometimes. I'm like, what you're saying is interesting. I want to focus in on what you're saying.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
But you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's almost like, I was listening to the audiobook years ago for Think and Grow Rich, which is a book that every like entrepreneur reads. I listened to the audiobook because I thought I would get it in faster, and man, I fell asleep 20 times listening to that because the narrator was so boring.
Yeah, well, it's like I said about Shah Rukh Khan. Some people just have that on-screen charisma and magnetism, and Shah Rukh Khan can just chat. Like, I loved him in the podcast with AIB. He can just chat about random stuff, and you're like, hi, tell me more. And then Jeff Bezos could be talking about the most interesting thing, and you're like,
I was talking about starting a space company.
I'm really struggling to pay attention right now. But, some people have it and some people don't.
Well, what's so fascinating about that to me that makes me even more curious about Jeff Bezos is this man is the richest person in the world. How does he convince people to do so? Like, even with Bill Gates, I experienced the same thing. You watch him and you're like, this guy's not the most, like, fun to listen to. Off camera, he's extremely charismatic because he's such a good businessman. The saying is, Bill Gates is such a good businessman, he can sell your own shirt back to you for more than you paid for it. And I assume Jeff Bezos is the exact same way. He's the exact same kind of dude who's very good at business. It's just interesting how that all works out, where, like, I would have expected him to be so much more like a politician, like so much more charismatic on camera.
And the thing that he said as well about having time to just kind of
Oh yeah.
in between stuff to just be able to think.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I was on Instagram, as I am often on Instagram, and someone posted a thing about something that Albert Einstein had said, which is like you should always make time in the day to just do nothing. Like go for a walk and just let your mind wander, and that's when the best ideas will happen. And I think that is something that we do need to prioritize more of in our lives, because in this modern day life everything is just so like busy, and you always want to, it's almost like you want to drown out the noise, or not even the noise, like maybe just the fear of silence, and like do something like go on Instagram or go online or be working and doing something, whereas it can actually be very beneficial to just take some time and be out in nature and allow yourself to think and meditate and whatever.
That's what the toilet's for.
Be creative.
Yeah,
but then nowadays we always take our phones into the toilet.
No, just don't do that. Just sit and poop.
Yeah.
And think.
So you're like, la, la,
Think
la.
and fart. That's all you do.
Or the shower. Isn't that your favorite place, the shower?
Yes. Why do you know that?
Because you've mentioned it in a video before. You're like in the shower and then you're thinking about stuff and yeah.
You tapped into the idea of finding time to have idle time, right? To just think. I was listening to the other part of it, which is not having enough time just left. Not having enough time to do everything that you want to do.
Right.
Just having more time to do it all. This is gonna sound funny, but that's one of the things that freaks me out about reading books sometimes. I'm like, this is such an investment of time that I'm not gonna get back. So it has to be a worthwhile investment for me. Why am I reading this book? You know, and sometimes it makes it hard to commit to certain books, to commit to books at all, even though reading books is so important. It's so important, but it's like, how do you choose what? You can't ever read all the books. If you did that, you wouldn't eat or sleep. How do you choose from the billions of books that exist? How do you choose what to read? I get hit with that all the time though with content. Like, okay, I'm on Netflix, what do I watch? I'm trying to play a video game, what game do I play? I've got like all the games one could want. What do I play? I don't know. And by the time I figure out a game I want to play, I just don't. And
you just have to commit. Just like choose one and commit. And if it sucks, then you can stop and just be like, okay, well that was an experience, and move on. It's never a waste.
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's all experiences that you're learning from.
That's why I end up watching, most of my entertainment right now is just watching YouTube videos, honestly. I can watch something that's a maximum commitment of 10 to 20 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, but even so, like I could have had ancillary, and the only reason I'm watching it is because of you guys, right? Because I would have just listened to it as like a podcast almost.
Yeah.
And while I'm doing something else, like while I'm exercising or whatever, I would have listened to it, or while I'm doing leg presses, I'll look at it sometimes and mostly hear it. What I'm saying is like the content I'm receiving now all has to be short form in order for me to not feel guilty. If that makes any sense at all. So if it's like 15 minutes, all right, I can give you that. 20 minutes, all right, now you're pushing it. 25, okay. But when it's like a 2-hour commitment, like a film or whatever, I'm like, this better be good. I'm gonna be pissed because I can't get that time back. That's just the thoughts, the random thoughts brewing in my head. That has nothing to do with this video or you guys. In a weird, like, offshoot way, that's what I'm getting from this, is like the time thing. It's like, I wish I had more time so I could ingest all the content and read all the books and talk to all the people and learn all the languages. I wish I had more time to do all those experiences. What is up with that suit though?
I like it. I like that it's a loud, fun print. I mean, it's not super loud because it's not very colorful, but I think as looking like an abstract painting is cool. I like the lack of a collar. It's sexy, I like it.
I prefer the Mark Zuckerberg approach, which is like a sweater.
I don't know. I love a guy in a nice tailored suit, and I think anyone who can have the confidence to wear something like that and like not a plain black suit or not a plain navy suit, I'm like, yeah.
I'm going with a sweater. This screams rob me. You can't walk outside in that, whereas you can walk outside in a sweater.
He's probably got bodyguards or whatever.
I know.
And if you steal his money, he's got tons more. I don't think he cares.
I'm just messing around.
But also Shah Rukh Khan's watch.
I thought Shah Rukh Khan's suit looked nicer. Shah Rukh Khan's hair is the thing that caught my attention more than anything else. Good God. There's a comment here from Droid17 Singh that says, I love what Jeff said about delegating stress. Makes sense. If a person who is a CEO and delegates other job duties should also delegate the portion of the stress along with it.
I mean, delegation is important. That's why I work with you, Jaby. So you delegate to me, and then I delegate to
but then, like,
assistant.
sometimes the stress also comes from the fact that you try to delegate the stress, and then your stress explodes beyond proportions that are reasonable because the person you delegated the stress to doesn't handle it properly, and you gotta come in and fix whatever they messed up anyhow.
In the words
this is not necessarily
of the
related
Disney
to you.
movie Frozen. Let it go, let it go.
This is not
Just let it
necessarily.
go.
This is not necessarily talking about you. This is a great Simpsons episode about this, where Homer, he deliberately got fat so he wouldn't have to go to work because he was considered disabled, and he had this little bird thing. You know, like those little science things they sell at the Brookstone, where it's like perpetually in motion, like the little balls that go back and forth, right? Like that. Yeah. So there's one like that with like a duck or something that goes boop, boop.
Yeah.
Over and over again. All Homer had to do at home was hit yes. He's like, this is so easy. So he put the little bird thing on it to hit yes over and over again. And there was an instance where he didn't. The bird just fell over for some reason. No, the show never bothers to explain why. But it fell over and he didn't hit yes in time, and there was like a nuclear power plant explosion that was about to happen or something. Something was gonna go horribly wrong. Oh. And the only way Homer could stop it was by running and jumping into the little hole of the power plant thing to stop it from exploding. Something stupid like that, because he was so fat, his huge body was able to stifle it. But the point of that episode was that, like, when you try to pass some stuff off sometimes, then it just gets worse. He tried to delegate it, just not in the most sensible way possible.
Yeah.
So sensible delegation is really the key here, not just delegating, sensible delegation.
And I think I agree with someone who said that Shah Rukh Khan should just start a talk show because I could just listen to him. I can hear him talk for hours. I said, I agree.
SRK should stop doing movies for some time and just start a talk show. I can hear him talk for hours. I don't think he should stop making movies. I definitely would love to see him do a talk show.
Yeah.
Like Karan Johar or something. I think he could do it. I think
if he ever wanted to stop doing movies and just, you know, chat and
I don't think he
stuff,
needs to stop doing movies. I think he just needs to also do a talk show.
I'd watch him.
Yeah.
He's just so charming. I think it would be hard to sometimes even be a guest on his channel because it's like
I don't think it's
gonna,
but
you know,
I don't think it's just the charm though. It's his ability to
put people at ease.
Yeah, and ask the right questions. Yeah, and ask compelling questions and keep it light in a very interesting way. So
yeah, he's super good.
Yeah. Anyways, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed some of that. Check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon to get notified every time we drop another video. I am JabyKoay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.